also been given a script. I'll read from it, but and also because I know many of them personally, I've met them, been introduced to them briefly. So I'll just try to say some things uh, beyond the script also. So, like my friend Donnie just mentioned, the topic "Come Clean, Go Green." So, I mean, every year we just rack our heads and think about what should we all align on as a community during the festival. So, and that's when, and also we try to keep it short and catchy. So, but this is beyond just catchy. Come Clean, Go Green is something that we want people. I mean, I think it resonates very well with what we've been trying to do, and it reflects, I think, in the festival. And the reason we added panel discussion as something as part of the festival is because we don't want this conversation to end after 3 days. We'd like that, there's so much effort, there is so many great minds, lovely people, hard work, and we just don't want that to end at the end of the festival. And hence, we thought let's have a panel discussion so that we can share and learn. And beyond just the people around here, we are going live on various TV channels, so people sitting at homes can also listen to this discussion and take back something. Hopefully, we will be able to inspire people. And our aim is to talk to not just the people who are here in the festival, but mainly the next generation, where we feel many things that are part of the festival right now may not, be something that they're interested in these days, because there are so many other things that are pulling people's attention. But we feel that this important discussion also deserves to be in people's mind. And we are very happy that, we have this panel of respected panelists who have agreed to come and be part of this very first panel discussion that's going to happen as part of Winter Tales. And it's a huge push for us as organizers when we have such people, openly and, just accepting our invitation, not knowing, any background. I mean, of course, some of them have visited the festival earlier, but most of them, it's a very new event. So just going ahead, the moderator for the event is Kong Patricia Mukim. Of course, somebody who doesn't need much of an introduction, but nevertheless, 2 lines about her. Patricia Mukim is the editor of Shillong Times and a columnist for several newspapers and magazines, a Padma Shri Award recipient, and a social activist. But beyond that, I think the value that we expect from Kong Pat on this panel is that probably things that not many know about her, which is her love for nature, plants, animals, every other species, and she's been a champion of that through all her initiatives of keeping the city of Shillong clean. So I think that, she's going to add great value as a moderator of this panel on today's discussion. Moving on, the next panelist is what I have, and I'm going to excuse myself, I may get names wrong, and I'm just going to be as casual and informal about this. Bawar, he's a retired government engineer who is preserving the heritage of Meghalaya through the Ever-Living Museum, an ethnographic museum that houses objects of the Khasi, Jaintia, and Garo tribes. And I happen to be in that museum, and Winter Tales is kind of a place that has taken inspiration from a museum that he has built. It's a smaller version of Winter Tales, I would say, and I would urge everyone to go and see and visit the museum. And this is again an example of how one puts his life's work into doing something that they believe in. So we're very happy to have Bawar as one of the panelists. The next panelist is H. Morman. He is one of Meghalaya's most respected environmental activists and columnist for the dailies. A retired reverend of the Unitarian Church, Morman has authored several books, and his views on environment protection have been featured extensively in many prominent news agencies. Well, again, I have had the opportunity once of meeting him. We didn't have a very lengthy discussion, but I've read his articles, and people have used his name as a reference and his writing as a reference for many of the discussions we have when it comes to environment, when it comes to going green. And I think there's no better person to be on this panel and have this discussion with. So very happy to have you here. The next panelist is Dr. Glenn C. Karkongor. He's a graduate of the CMC, Vellore, and the Chancellor of MLCU. Dr. Glenn is a champion for public and pediatric health and also an author with one of his books, Birds of Meghalaya, that he co-authored with Kinsai Ria Karkongor and Sandra Albert, will be launched tomorrow at this very venue in the workshop stage at 3 p.m. So again, very happy to have Dr. Glenn on board, and from whatever I hear, he has played a very important role in inspiring young minds. And that is also one of the intentions of today's discussion, is we want that to be part of one of our takeaways from this session. The talk should become an inspiration for the next generation. And the last panelist is Sir Gautam Mukhopadhyay. He is a retired Indian Foreign Service after serving as an ambassador to Syria, Afghanistan, and Myanmar. He is a senior visiting fellow at the Center for Policy Research, Delhi, and currently exploring alternatives at the ground level to protect environment, forest, small farmers, water, and energy management in the northeast of India. And he has been a big supporter of many of the events that we've done in the past, whether it is in Shillong or in Delhi. He's never missed any of our events in the Meghalaya store in Delhi. And we couldn't resist but invite him to Shillong and be part of this discussion. And also because there is another side of him which most may not know, or not printed in this paper at least, is that he, in these days after his retirement, spends a lot of time doing smaller things, people may think, but more important deeds, I would say, which is being closer to nature, exploring, working closely with farmers, exploring, agricultural avenues for, supporting people from his, wherever he goes in the northeast of India. And in every conversation that I've had with him, we were always talking about how can we make something better. It may be any topic. So I think he is going to, again, as part of this discussion, put in all his ideas and definitely contribute in such a way that there's going to be a beautiful outcome at the end of the 1 hour of discussion. So sorry for keeping it so long, but I think all of these panelists deserved this introduction. So without further ado, I'd like to invite them on stage. If you could please join me. And a round of applause, please, for all the panelists. No, anywhere. Yeah, yeah. on Facebook or another short announcement I'd like to make before the panel start is, after the panel and we hear all of their thoughts, we've wanted to make it slightly more interactive this year where the audience can participate, and hence we have something called the Winter Tales Pledge, which we want as a community, all of us to take this pledge, and you can call it a pledge, you can call it a New Year resolution, because we are almost at the end of the year. But that is something that we will be announcing at the end of the discussion. And also we'll have a short performance, a song that can leave us inspired after this talk. So that will follow. Over to you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Gopal. Good morning, friends. Kublai kini kiba wana juai baro kiba na jengai na jan te hap klam da ka yong pareng le kamuan mo. So welcome everyone, and we hope to have an interesting discussion. The theme is, as you know, come clean, go green. We are supposed to come here with no plastics, no non-biodegradable materials, and we are supposed to leave even cleaner. In fact, it reminds me of a play that was held many years ago by the Moral Rearmament. It's called Anything to Declare. So here we are actually to be declaring that we are not guilty of polluting the environment. I don't want to sound self-righteous, because all of us, especially my generation, have been responsible for turning this planet into a huge, huge mess. And I wish that all the schools should take their students to the landfill at Martin to better understand what happens to anything that we use and throw. When we discard our garbage, we forget about it. We don't care where it goes, what happens to it. This time I was in Faridabad and I saw those mountains of garbage not treated. And I thought to myself, we are a country that has sent people to the moon, and we can't do anything about garbage. I think it's a very, very serious disorder. So let me start now with Bawar. You have started that museum. I think it's a labor of love, and great effort has gone into that, and it's a personal effort. So what made you do that, and what is the message that you have for the future generation, especially those who are around this place, the Gen X, you call it, no? Gen Z. Glenn tells me it's Gen Z. So what do we have to tell them that will not be preachy, something really practical?
Thank you, Gopal. And good morning to everybody who are here. So I like to tell a story about my life. When I was a boy of 10 years old, I started collection of stones, round pebbles. I put below my house. And then my mother found out the stones, and then she asked me, who has collected the stones? Then I told my mother, I was the one who collected the stones. So with the love that she didn't want me to be deaf, as per the belief in those times that anybody collected stones will be deaf. So she wanted to throw the stones away. So then I told her, if you throw my stones away, you're throwing your sons away from the house, with the intention to go to my grandparents' house to stay with them. Then after my answer, she didn't throw my stone away, because she know my very strong principle about anything which I collected. Then I used to go behind my house during the summer season when the spring came up. So I used to make the pond and the dam and the mounds and the landscapes covered by moss, because I love nature very well, right from my young age. So then my father also used to take us to the countryside. Then I saw the beauty of the countryside. Then it really impressed me. Then later on, I start collection of many things. Then I saw the stones in my when I was a student of Assam Engineering College. I saw the stones in the lavatory. Then they written that collected from Khas Hills. Then it make me challenge that after passing out, I'll go and find out during my working days in the department. Then luckily I joined the PhD department. I could go to many places in Meghalaya, which was posted in different parts of Meghalaya, in Garo Hills, Giant Hills, Khas Hills, Ribhoi districts. Then I collected many, many things and inspiring people, not only for collecting stones and orchids, and I inspired them to take care of the beauties of the land, especially the orchids. And I remember one tree. On the way to Nongstein to Williamigar, I saw a tree full of orchids, beautiful orchids, and I have taken the photograph. But later on, one day, when I went to Williamigar, I found a tree already cut, and I shed my tears. Then, that's why I could set up my museum, and in my garden of 40,000 square feet, I planted the wild orchids of Meghalaya. Is about more than 90 species, and wildflowers about more than 44 species, and wild ferns more than 19 species. And
We should clap. We should clap. It's not easy to do that. Habit hap kti nakabanta ka jing persyang ini ba.
and especially the legendary flowers like Teulalingi pepshat, the Teodomau Lipona Jumut, jewel orchids, called in English. Then now this blooming is Teulingsier, green, green flower orchid. So, and not only that, I used to go to the villages and give the water supply to them, taught them how to preserve the catchment area of the the sources of water supply schemes, so that they can get perennial water to their villages. And not apart from that, I used to go and give awareness campaign to the many tourist spots. The first one is Maulung Mna. I saw the beauty of Maulung Mna with their fossils and the beauty of the streams meandering on the rocks. So I requested my friends to follow me. Then we had a meeting for 4 hours a night, and then we make them understand, and we requested them to open a tourist spot for their livelihood. And then next morning we went to the surrounding areas. We taught them how to preserve the this forest near the Maulamna village, so that they shouldn't cut any trees, but plant more orchids on the trees and wildflowers, preserve the pitcher plants, and then the how to start spots in on that Umkakoi Lake, then the streams, they can do this river canyoning and many things. So I was very happy when I saw Maulumna, gone to the standard of what is a tourist spot. So not only that, I've taken this, I've helped the place like Kudangrim tourist spot, because they have not seen the many beauties of the Kudangrim, because they don't know about the say like the emerging streams that I saw the first time in Meghalaya, in Kudangrim, then Sobar, then Layam, then other places also. I cannot name them now because it's a long list. So in that way, because I believe that I should not survive only with my tourist spot, my museum, but they other people also they should survive. So, and also, I was one of the organizer of the Monolith Festivals of 2013 and 2016, which I went down to many villages uh, to request what call the craftsmen to take and participate in that Monolith Festivals. So now when I saw this your winter tales here, I was very happy because this my dream now has come up to this level. So I'd like to request the people of Meklia and people from all over the world who came to my museum from all the 5 continents of the world because they saw that my museum is not only a house of artifacts, antiques, and the stone museum, the only stone museum in Northeast. So that's why I'm start by January, I'll build a thatch hut, an indigenous thatch hut, which will house every items not seen nowadays, which were used by our ancestors. So I hope that people can come and see and play the drums inside the thatch hut. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. That is such an extensive piece of work that you have done. I think we have to be grateful to people like you. Let me now go across to Ambassador Mukhopadhyay. We know that you're doing organic farming in Kangpokpi district, which is a very troubled space now. What made you take up agricultural farming, having spent so many years as a diplomat? And what is the message that you have to give to the younger generation here?
Thank you, Patricia, and I'd like to also thank the management of Wintersdale for inviting me amongst this very inspiring and distinguished galaxy of personalities that we have on the stage, and also to be amongst you. So it was pretty much, actually, I must say, by accident. And I must really acknowledge and thank my wife for the initiative, because she came out with this idea that she was born in a mud hut, and that she wanted to construct a mud hut that was reminiscent of her parents' home in her childhood. And it began with simply that, a mud and thatch hut with all the traditional properties of a Kuki architecture. So there's something called a Kangpe, there's something called a Kemcha, all things that whenever I travel in other parts of the Northeast, I find variations of the same features in all the architecture. But having started this, we discovered a few things. So, it was mud, bamboo, thatch, very minimal use of cement, in fact, almost no use of cement. And we decided to work with the idea of zero carbon, climate friendly, sustainable, recyclable, many other concepts like this. But what we discovered when we started this was that this was in terraced paddy land. And the terraced paddy land was lying vacant for 10, 12 years, simply because at that time the government of Manipur had not even thought of making the most minor interventions in irrigation that would be able to irrigate these lands even during the rainy season. So for 10 years, these lands had been lying fallow. And we began to wonder, how can we revive paddy cultivation in this land? And one day, the villagers around, they came to my wife and they said, sister, would you mind spending a little bit of money on a JCB so that we can open a drain from the river to the paddy fields? And overnight, we saw that about 3 to 4 square kilometers of wet terraced paddy land came to life. And then we discovered another thing, and I was just talking to Dr. Glenn about this, that we found that the farmers in the hills, they had food because they had rice, and they stocked the food in their granaries for the whole year, but nobody ever had any cash for their normal expenditures. So they grew rice, and they grew a few vegetables, beans and squash, and things like that for their daily consumption. but really nothing with which to earn cash, which they now needed in the new economy. So then we began to think of how can we supplement the farmers' incomes by small, small interventions, just by growing a few crops from which they could sell and make money. And from there it became things like water management, alternative sources of energy. We found that, all over, this is true for Meghalaya as well, we look for solar energy, we look for coal, we look for diesel, oil, but we have plenty of rivers, and each one of these rivers can be tapped for minor, micro, mini irrigation projects that can provide electricity without the grid in local areas. And you can even power small industries, agro-industries, the produce of your land, which can be processed, which can be packaged out of these kinds of, and from there you can work on to hybrid models. You can combine solar, wind, water, and even, bio-waste into sort of hybrid technologies. So we are really sort of working on that sort of thing, but the real inspiration, I must say, started off with mud and thatch huts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's very inspiring. It's not easy to go to a village like Kangpokpi and start something there because, it's also very difficult to bring behavioral change. People are so quick to believe in getting rich quick and using monoculture as a way out. Thank you. Now we come to Ma Moharmen. Ima Moharmen idei ibalatrei slemha ban penne pensa ya kamariang. His write-ups have spoken time and again about how the Kopli River has been literally poisoned and also the Lukha and the Lunar rivers. Now we can see the Wards Lake. The color of the Wards Lake is not what it used to be in the past. So there's a lot of, I don't know what sort of water that is being dumped here. And we all come here, we walk around, but we are silent about the aggression on the river. We are also silent on the aggression on the rivers around Shillong, Kawa Kra, Kawa Shirpi. We don't care. We have become so callous. A few of us have got together in 2019 to start Operation Cleanup, and we had invited Ma Moharmen also to do the same in Jaintia Hills, in Jowai especially. So please tell us of your efforts, Ma.
Okay. Good morning. And thank you, Kong. Thank you, everybody in the panel. And thank you, friends. People used to ask me, how did you start writing? Whether you ever, gone to any writing schools. I said, no, I've never been to any writing schools. I started to write just out of my concern for the environment. I came from Giant Hills. I call it Giant Hills because at that point of time when I started writing, there was just one Giant Hills. So as we all know, Giant Hills is famous for coal and now limestone. So at one point of time, I made a decision that if I want to really know about my district, I should visit every nook and corner of Giant Hills. So I tried to visit almost the entire Giant Hills, and that's when I realized, like Kong was saying, that I found out that almost all the rivers, especially not only in the mining areas, but even the rivers downstream, where no mining activities is happening, all the rivers are polluted to the extent that no aquatic life can be seen on those rivers. Like Kong has mentioned, Kopli, and then even Mantru, downstream of Mantru, not the upper stream of Mantru, and then Lukha, Lunar, almost all the rivers in Giant Hills have been affected by acid mine drainage. So that was actually what compelled me to start writing about this, because nobody is writing about it. Firstly, because everybody is involved in the business. So, and the second and the most important thing is it's not wise actually to write. And there is threat all over. People who are engaged in this business, they have money, they can do anything. So we know this. I mean, almost everybody knows about this. So Kongpat has rescued me from one of the incident when I was detained in the police station because of my writing. So thankfully, Kongpat came to my rescue, and I was not put in the bar. So, but I was just detained in the police station for writing, against the government at that point of time. And then we've been campaigning against the rat hole mining, because after we studied all the papers that we have, we realized that it's not legal as such. We have been, insisting in our campaigning. We try to make people make this clear that rat hole mining is not legal. Not legal. So luckily, now we have, NGT came into picture, and it was banned now in 2014. Since 2014, it was banned, and everybody know what happens. It was banned only in papers, but still mining is going on. Everybody knows that. Now, if you go to, again, Kong to Kopli, there are lines of truck that goes from this area of Meghalaya side of the border and transported coal to Assam. And now this coal is being sold as Assam coal, although it was extracted from Giant Hills. So these things happen even now. But a few years back, as you all know, in July, we had that very unfortunate incident when our landfill was, people who lives around our landfill, just all of a sudden they decided to stop the dumping of waste in that area. So, we were caught in a dilemma, and it was at that point of time I started involving myself in waste management. So, with the training that we have, then we help people convert kitchen waste into animal feeds, particularly pig feed. So it was the experiment that we did, and we realized that it's very good, and it could be a very good incentive for the farmers, because pig feed is very expensive. So, when the court intervened in the matter of waste in Juai, so the Juai Municipal Board invited us as stakeholder. So we also involved with the Juai Municipal Board with regard to making awareness about the waste management in Juai. But very recently, we have a very interesting project with the Northeast Adventist University, where we are going to do the first, on campus segregation of waste. And we are trying to do this scientifically, in the sense that we first did the awareness, and now the second part we did was the characterization of waste. Characterization of waste, so that we can get the kind of a baseline of what waste that is being produced in the campus. So hopefully by next year we will be able to start with the waste management in the Northeast Adventist University in Juai. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think you should tell them in a few words about SURE.
Okay, thank you.
He's also working, they are working extensively with blind people,
Okay.
and they're learning so much from blind people.
Okay. That's another problem that I had when people start asking me, who are you exactly, and what is your profession? I said, I don't know. Because some people call me columnist, some people call me, clergy, and some. So, and this another aspect of me is social worker. So I like to identify myself as a social worker, actually. So we have this NGO we call Society for Urban and Rural Empowerment, which is in short SURE, which is quite easy to remember. And right now we have a very interesting project, which is two interesting projects. One project is we are working with the people who have been treated at MEMHAMS, mentally ill people, and they have been treated. And since most of them, they are abandoned people, so there was nobody who come to pick them up from MEMHAMS. So we provided shelter for them, and we also provided training for them. And incidentally, when we visit the stall there, we found out the workshop there where they make item from waste. So we thought that is something that we would like to. We have contacted Kit, and he is ready to support us in helping with the making item from the waste. So that's very interesting thing that happens when we visit here. So he's also going to help us with a lot of things. So, And then another, like Kong was mentioning, is that we are organizing training for visually impaired people. For so long, they have been neglected people. There's no program for them. Nothing has been arranged for them. In fact, when we had an interaction with them, two of the ladies, actually one is from Kongridas village only, she's also from Wajer. She said, this is the first time that it came out, all the time I was at home looking after my sister's children. I don't have the opportunity to go outside. So this training was like an opportunity for her to come out of the home. So, but we trained them on broomstick making, which we thought it's easy. So we found that they're very active. And like Kong was saying, when I spent quite a lot of time with them, and we realized that although they are visually impaired, they made the best use of the mobile phones. They made the best use of the mobile phones. They can take photograph. You can imagine how a visually impaired take a photograph. There are apps which helps them, and they read text message. They were excited when we took them for an outing. They took photographs and they upload the photos. Then I asked them, what for? I mean, you cannot even see your own photographs. And they said, no, a lot of people are, they share this photograph for their friends. So there's a lot of things to learn from the people who are visually impaired. And I think they need more of our, more interaction with us. So thank you, Kong, for reminding me that.
Thank you. So now we come to the philosopher in the group, Dr. Glenn Kharkungor. He is somebody we look up to when we're, we get bamboozled by too many things. So we go to Dr. Glenn for clarity. And as I was sitting here, I'm looking around and I see green all over, but there is just one single tree. I don't know whether it has shed its leaves or it is dead or I don't know. But since Martin Luther Christian University, and Dr. Glenn is its chancellor, is constructing a new university building in Umpernai. I want to ask Dr. Glenn whether careful planning has been done to ensure that the university and its waste management is internalized. Because if we do not democratize waste management, if we are all going to think that we're going to dump everything in Martin, and we know that in Meghalaya, beyond Shillong, there is no waste management system. It's a very sad thing. And for the first time, I think we heard that the district council has given a waste disposing truck at Smith, and that was a big thing. So, Glenn, please tell us what you have in mind. You've been watching the scene. You know that as indigenous people, while we were growing up, we had enough space within our houses to put in our organic waste. Now we do not even have that. Even organic waste we have to send to the landfill. How healthy or how dangerous is that?
Thank you, Kongpat. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to Winter Tales. I think this is a fabulous festival. I was here last night and like a winter wonderland. So big compliments to Rida and Gopal and Samvar and Karin. I know you have a great team. So it's so wonderful to be part of Winter Tales, and congratulations. I wish you would also organize Summer Tales, Spring Tales also, so that we would have more of this all around the year. Or one in July, a good idea, and maybe one in Tura. So wonderful to be a part of this. I'll answer Kongpat's question in, a little later. But the word green is something that's very precious to tribal people because we are so close to nature. And the part of our green environment that I connect very well, and I want to talk a little bit about that, is birds. Birds are such an important part of our biodiversity. As all children know, they sing songs, they're beautiful to look at, they pollinate the plants. So birds play a very important role in perpetuating our biodiversity. So how did I get interested? I was about 6 or 7 years old, and it was a Sunday and nothing much was happening at home. So my father and a couple of my uncles having nothing much better to do, managed to catch a crow. So they caught this crow and they tied one of the legs of the crow with a long piece of string and hung it up from the branch of a tree and started shooting at it with their catapults. So I felt this was very cruel, this kind of sport, okay? And I ran to the kitchen and I started crying, clutching my mother's jankirsha, and I was complaining about them, okay? So she went out and she scolded the men. By that time, you know, the poor bird had been maimed and the poor bird was almost dead. So that experience with a bird kind of set me on this journey of you know, avian interest. And so as a young teenager, I would even write to birders, and I would write to bird magazines and ask for advice and share experiences. And after my education and after working out of Shillong and came back a few years ago, one of the interests that we took up as a family was the birds of the Northeast and the birds of Meghalaya. As you know, our area, our state is so rich in birds, probably more than 700 species of birds in Meghalaya alone. And if some of you are here tomorrow for the soft launch of our book on the birds of Meghalaya, you'll see that we have documented about 250 kinds of birds in that. And this has become a huge obsession, more than a hobby for our family. And while in the Northeast collecting pictures of birds and all of these trips to different parts, to national parks and to riverlands and so forth, I've also started collecting folk tales about birds. So I'll tell you a little folk tale about birds today. Some of you may have seen a bird that's very common. It's called a red-vented bulbul. And it's a grayish-black bird that often sits on the prominent branches of the trees. Right. And it has a red vent. It's called the red-vented bulbul. Okay? It has a red bum. So there is a Garo folktale about how did the bulbul get his red bum. The bulbul, okay, is actually a bully. In its territory, it tends to chase other birds from its territory so that it has all the food sources for itself. It is a prolific breeder, so bulbuls tend to breed very quickly and they dominate the local areas and they crowd out other birds as well. So in this particular story, the bulbul was flying faster than all the other birds through the forest and quickly grabbing all of the berries. And in its pursuit of berries through the forest, it suddenly realized it was lost. It was far away from home. And then realized, now how do I get back home? So it kept flying, suddenly came out into a clearing and saw these lantana bushes full of these purple berries. Forgot that it was lost and started gorging itself on these purple berries. Now there's a connection over here. Lantana is an invasive plant. It's come from the West. It was British housewives who brought the lantana plant from England to grow in their gardens. And now it has entered the forest. It's taken over huge parts of the forest. It crowds out the other biodiversity. And the bird that mainly spreads lantana is the red-vented bulbul, because it eats the seeds and flies all over and spreads the seeds, and that's how the lantana spreads. So in this symbiotic relationship between the bird and the lantana, we are seeing an invasive plant actually taking over a lot of our forests. Anyway, to come back to the bulbul that was lost. So it gorged itself so much, okay, on the berries that its stomach was full. It got a tummy upset and started having diarrhea and dysentery and had blood in the stools, and that's how the bum became red. Okay? So that's the story from the Garo Hills. So come back to Kongpat's question. Okay? We, of course, being a university and very much youth-oriented, someone was saying that we should say something, I think in the introduction, that will inspire youth. But I should tell you that it's actually the other way around. It is the youth who are idealistic about the environment, about waste disposal, and they are the ones who are actually inspiring the older people, for example, the senior administrators of the university, saying that we should do something about waste management. So the transmission of inspiration is happening actually in the reverse direction. We have a small campus in Umsauli, and one of the projects that we took up as soon as we started the campus was to recycle all the water. So we have a small recycling plant which recycles all the water from the canteen and from the toilets so that the water is completely reused. Yeah, so that's one example. Our main campus in Umfunai, 27 acres, is under construction, and so there's going to be many features that will show conservation. One of the things is that we're taking some of the low-lying areas, building small dams and converting them into small ponds. These ponds, we have calculated, our architects have calculated, will actually be enough for the entire water supply of the campus. So we'll be self-sufficient in water. Of course, from rainwater harvesting and from actually guiding the little streams and all into these ponds. So this is a couple of examples. So with that, I'll end this part here. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. So the theme of this panel discussion is Come Clean, Go Green. Go green in simple terms really means finding a balance between life and the environment. Because the way we live today is, and the choices we make is impacting on the environment. And Glenn is correct that these days, students, little kids are the ones who go back home and tell their parents, we are not supposed to do this and we are not supposed to do that because teacher told us this and teacher told us that. So I'm grateful to the teachers for bringing in environment conservation in many small ways, just by telling their students not to be so dependent on Uncle Chips, because the amount of packages discarded per day is phenomenal. We really need to take note of that. And I think we also need to do an audit of our own waste from home. How much waste are we generating daily, weekly, monthly? If we do an audit, if we keep track, maybe something inside us will provoke us to be a little more accountable to the environment. Now I think we will leave the space open for questions, comments. I know many of you have a lot to say. Please come up and say something that you feel very strongly about. On the theme, Come Clean, Go Green. What are you going to take back as a message from here? Silence. If this were to be happening in Delhi, we would have 101 hands. I think we should also get over this culture of silence. It is also a culture that buries a lot of things that we need to speak up on. You've heard all the panelists speak on so many issues. Very, very enriching, actually. So please speak up. Quack lam phi. Em give a quack lam. Ki don't give a quack ren. Oh. So one.
Hi, my name is Nelson. I'm from St. Anthony's College. I just wanted to ask, as an individual, as just someone who cares about the environment, but I'm not really heavily involved. I'm just a normal individual. What can I do to really help the environment? Just any piece of advice, really. I want to feel like useful.
We had come to St. Anthony's College. We had involved you all with Operation Cleanup, but after one phase, the students just disappeared. The only school that continues to come with us every week, every second week that we clean the Umkra River is Kiddies Corner. So I would request you to form a team and join us, and we will let you know. We'll let you in onto the group. Okay.
Okay.
The other, the other university that has joined us relentlessly is Martin Luther Christian University. Their students have come. So please join any. I'm not saying join us. Join any group that is doing something for the environment.
So to be available for any groups that might help the environment.
Yeah, because we do our work on a Saturday morning. Because we imagine that Saturdays are not very heavily, routine, not much heavy routine in colleges, and schools have holidays, so we have it on Saturdays.
Okay,
Can I,
thank you.
can I ask?
Yeah.
Can I add? And I think the other thing that we need to do is, I've been trying to practice this, is to, as much as we can, not use plastic bottles.
Yes.
I always make sure I carry my own bottle everywhere. People ask me, what change can you make? But I said, at least I have not used single-use plastic bottle for 1 year now. So I've been, attending conference and workshops where they provide these plastic bottles. So I've not been using those. So at least on my part, that's one contribution that I can make. And the only thing I would like to ask you is, sorry if I, invade in your privacy. How much online buying do you do? Because online buying now is, there's more ways than the thing that you buy actually.
I'm not actually that. I don't buy things that often. Mostly once a month. Usually, electronic products.
Okay.
Usually, but I don't try to buy like plastics or stuff. If it's like, especially if it's like wooden box. If it comes in like a wooden, like a not wooden, paper or like carton case, I try to like recycle it, make it into something fun, or try to essentially make the best use out of it. I don't throw it unless I really have no use for it.
But I think the point that I want to make is try to generate as less waste as we can.
No, I don't really use it that often though. I don't really buy things unless I really need it, unless it's an electronic product that I genuinely need. But mostly, no, I don't use it. And if I can say one thing to everyone around here also, please carry a sort of like a container or like something to throw your waste in whenever you're going around. If you buy chips packets, Lays, like you said, please, if you finish eating those or bottles or anything, please put it in those containers and to properly put it in a proper like dustbin and stuff. Don't throw it around, or even if it's just like a small plastic, like 5 rupees chips or something, to put it in your pocket until you find a proper place to throw it. Don't just throw it around in random streets. I really get annoyed whenever I see like random pieces of plastic that are just thrown around when there's a dustbin right next to it. It really does annoy me. I remember going to sort of like these tourist destinations, and I think this area is really beautiful, but I get really annoyed whenever I see like chips packets thrown so far that it's actually difficult to actually clean it. Like it's thrown over the rails. People will have to like risk their limbs and stuff to actually clean it up. So please don't throw your trash in. Please don't throw your trash in areas where it's more difficult for other people to clean it up. Be a bit more considerate of others and of the environment. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah, just one word. I think you just answered your own question. So, just picking up on that, I think, first of all, it's most important we just mindful and conscious of your own actions and, and the environmental impact that it has. But I'd actually go a little beyond that. And waste is obviously one obvious area. Planting trees are another. But I'd go a little beyond that and actually just pay attention and be mindful to literally the environment around you. The trees. Get to understand the trees. What are their names? What are their properties? Birds. Dr. Glenn just talked about it. Water, the quality of water around you. Just be aware. The bees. We don't notice the bees. But they are all fulfilling a very important life in the ecology of our world. So, just a little attention to the nature and to the things around you, to the trees, the plants, the birds, even the earthworms, and I think it'll make a big difference. And I must say, the inspiration for this came from one of my oldest teachers, a man called Gurdial Singh, who just died at 96 a few months back. And he used to stop class every year when he heard the first cuckoo. He would stop class and he would take us for a nature tour of the trees and the birds around our school campus. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to share here that if you go on a river cleaning drive, you would be absolutely in sorrow to see what all people discard in the rivers. From those Huggies, those baby napkins, to menstrual pads, which is why now there is a group called Shubham, which is manufacturing reusable menstrual pads where people can just wash and reuse them for about 80 times. Because we cannot do this to our rivers. We are killing them. We are killing them by degrees. And if all of us here, take a pledge, as we will be doing now, to also not just ourselves throwing things into the river, but preventing others from doing that. Making a noise. We need to make a noise. We are in a democracy. Our governments are deaf and dumb at the best of times. If we do not make a noise, they will get away with murder. So that is why I keep telling people in universities and colleges, you are privileged to be in those institutions. If you do not speak up because you have a voice, there are many who don't have the agency of voice. If you don't speak up, who will? If I don't speak up, who will? Any more from the audience?
Hello, good morning, everybody on the panel. I'm not an activist, I'm just a craft person. But I just want to mention that there are so many cleaning drives are going on. I'm from Garo Hills. And there are so many cleaning drives going on every time during this Gandhi Jayanti and then before Christmas or whenever there is an event or before this festive seasons. But the thing is that, those youths or those people who are there are just only for the name's sake, that they are not aware what they'll do after going back from that cleaning drive. I used to say that the same people who are now taking the broom with gloves and with the boots, they'll be on their way back home, they'll be throwing some packages or throwing things around. So that is not the way, I think, because they should, each individual should be given awareness. They should be very, they should know about what they are contributing to the environment. So there's so many things I would like to say, but single voice cannot do, even in our locality, because we have, in my side, on my side of my compound, Rida has seen, there's a space, we used to call it nobody's lane, but people are using it for parking. And those who come in a parking there, they used to throw so many things, and they used to stray their dogs. Their dogs are very, hybrid dogs. So at least 2 attendants for 1 dog. They'll come and then they'll breed their dogs there. Everything they'll shed there. So myself, I'm this single voice, so they are not aware because this is nobody's lane. But I feel very shy, I'm so embarrassing because people know that it's my lane. So my single voice cannot do anything. And one thing, recently, during the Wangala, I think you must have seen some write-ups in the what Wangala has caused for the environment, like dumping ground. So myself being one of the Wangala committee members, we used to say, at least be careful while allotting the stalls for the people. Make sure that they don't litter and make it a plastic-free zone. But single voice cannot do anything. They're not aware about anything. They said that we'll take care of it after the event, but nothing. After the cleaning up, also some bad smell emanating. People are complaining, and so much what to say. I don't know. Is damage it has done to the environment, and what being an international event, like if yeah, it's almost an international event, but doing in such a way is it's not that good.
What about the waste after Megong?
Yeah, I don't go there, but I think regarding the Megong, I heard only regarding the traffic congestion because
Okay.
I've never been there. That's
Can
what.
I request you to do one thing, please? Can
Yes,
you
ma'am.
form a small group that think like you
Mm-hmm.
and go to the deputy commissioner of the district
Mm-hmm.
and work with the deputy commissioner, because this is what we do here. It is not possible for any civil society group to just do things on their own. Because when we go for cleaning drives, we need the JCB, we need the
Yeah.
municipal trucks and all.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have to collaborate with government. If you can form a small group, and I'm sure the group will grow, it will be very nice, and we can get a report from you at the next Winter Tales.
Yeah. And one thing, yeah, in our locality, one segregation program has also been organized to make the people aware. But the people just dump everything in that non-biodegradable or biodegradable also. But myself, I used to segregate everything separately. All the papers I used to collect, I've been collecting only the junks, and my mates are complaining that everybody is just throwing everything in one. But I said that at least from my house, the segregation should be done. That's what I used to say. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Yes.
Very good morning to all. So, ma'am, I just wanted to, I wanted an advice or some sort of a help. So what I wanted to work is I wanted to actually recycle cigarette waste. So there's thousands and thousands and lakhs of people who buy cigarettes every day. So what happens is that the cigarette butts eventually goes into the oceans. So I feel like lakhs, actually I feel millions of cigarette butts just end up in the oceans at the end of the day. So I wanted to work on something that is if we can recycle the cigarette waste. So I feel like the nicotine can be used as manure. Then the paper can be used as manuscripts or paper bags. And I feel like the cotton, it's not actually cotton, but it's cellulose acetate. So if we can cure it in such a way that we can use it as cotton, or it's actually a plastic material in the smallest form. So if we can actually, find an adhesive to actually make it into the spectacles. So I feel like this is cellulose acetate. This is not cotton actually. So we just need a chemical reaction in which the cottons or the cellulose acetate can be turned into plastics. So I just wanted to know what sort of help or advice would you give to me if I have to take this plan forward?
Anyone here has any? I really don't know how to answer that question. Is there anyone who is scientifically trained to understand how to recycle cigarette waste? And even, what about biri? You know, when we were going to Kangpokpi, we stopped for tea at a small tea shop. And then while the mothers were busy cooking and all that, the kids were left to play around. The kids were picking up the biri that was thrown anywhere and putting it on them in their mouths because they've seen people putting that. I mean, that was heartbreaking for me. So even where we discard cigarette and biri waste is so important. But I don't know the answer to your question. Gopal, do you think you can do something? Can we do some more research on this?
Yeah, maybe we can have the question open for now, and anybody who finds an answer or a
Yes,
suggestion can
yes.
get back to us
Yes.
in any format, and we can always, and we know Uttam, he's a dear friend. We'll ensure that his plan is a success.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
Uttam. Thank you. Anyone amongst the panelists want to have the last word or something?
We have one more question.
Okay.
Good morning. What I'm going to say is connected to Madam. She had brought up a question regarding the youth nowadays. They get very motivated to do something at the speck of the moment, and they go for cleaning drives, and after that, what happens to them? So I'm Ira, and I'm a school counselor. I work with a school with about 2,000 students here in Shillong. And as a counselor, when I think about the word green, what comes to my mind is mental health. Like she said, what happens to the youth after the cleaning drive? So I guess it's got, ma'am, to ma'am, I think a suggestion would be, so youth nowadays, as what we've seen nowadays, is that they're mostly incentively, inclined. So as a counselor, in my school, what I do is with regards to language usage, for instance, the smallest of things, very casually using of abusive words or slangs is something which is seen on an everyday basis. A full stop is replaced with a slang which is so casually used and accepted by a teacher who's passing by. So my effort as a counselor to bring that change in any child in my school is to actually give them an incentive. An incentive probably would be if you try doing probably a good deed for the next 7 days, then you come back to your class teacher or your confidant or your friend, or come back to me and then tell us about it. And we need not go around monitoring the child, because some values cannot be monitored. They should actually have a calling and a change from inside. So we do that, and it has worked wonderful. So I think, like Glenn sir here said, that it is the reverse way. The youth, not actually the youth, but the youth are actually showing the change, are the change. So what we can do is, ma'am, you can have, like what Patricia ma'am said, you can have this little group of like-minded people and have an incentive method on how probably you could have these changes in the youth in your locality to begin with. It could be a micro approach, it not be a large scale, a very minimal, small step approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a great reminder that come clean, go green also refers to our mental health. Because a clean mental health is as important as the physical health. Want to say something, Glenn?
I think that discussions such as this should actually be youth-oriented. And that's because it is the youth of this generation that is the only hope for saving the planet. And so many issues. We talk about Generation Z, and there's an extensive amount of research on Generation Z. What does it tell us? It tells us that essentially Generation Z is the most well-behaved of all generations in history. Why would we say this? Because there's data that shows they'll have less risky behavior, there's less drug use, there's less teenage pregnancy, there's less alcoholism compared to previous generations. The generation that had the highest crime, drug abuse, antisocial behavior was actually my generation, Generation X. Data shows this. And we see that Generation Z are very idealistic people. And it is this idealism that needs to be harnessed. Unfortunately, there's another side to Generation Z. With Generation Z, there's also a high prevalence of mental illness. And in this group of the age, from adolescence, from the age of 9 to the age of 24, young adults, mental illness, suicide, thoughts of self-harm are twice as high as any other age group. And it's increased after COVID to 30 to 40%. So while there is a lot of awareness about mental health, there's a lot of concern about social injustice, a lot of concern about the environment, somehow this generation is a mixed group with mixed themes. And mental health is definitely an important part of this. And I think that improving the planet, being green, equality, equity, social justice, all of these actually improve the mental health not only of the younger generation but for all of us. So it is this holistic approach that we need to keep in mind. We can talk about garbage and waste management, but almost every sector in society and life is interconnected. All the same, I believe that as a university working with youth, that this is our best hope. You're a counselor. You look after that side of their well-being, which is very nice. And so I think the message from us seems to be older generation on the panel over here is that, okay, please keep up the idealism that you have as youth. I see a number of you over here. You are our only hope for saving the planet. And as we make these promises to come clean, go green, and all of these slogans, keeping them in mind, but also working in very many ways, individual and collective, is all very important. So perhaps the message today is that the youth are our only hope. Yeah.
I was doing some research this morning and I came across this sentence that 30 minutes of walk in a forest amongst nature is great for mental health. Perhaps it is because we do not have too much of nature around us today, or because we are too obsessed with our mobile phones that we don't have time to go into the forest. There are forests in Lomparing, Malki and all. If we go there, it is to do some of the antisocial things. So maybe we should tell our students in school, and I also feel we should take students on these walks to places where you have charcoal being burned, being produced. Children should know that despite the ban, charcoal burning is still carrying on unabated, especially near Mukro and Jaintia Hills. So it's very painful to see denuded forests. It's painful to see ugly rivers laden with garbage. And I think looking at all that also brings a lot of mental health problems. It does. If you see something clean, you feel happy, you feel good, you feel nice. So anything you want to say as a last word?
Thank you, Kong. I think I'll take from where Kong from Garo Hills said. With regard to this kind of a routine cleanliness drive, like you rightly mentioned, during Gandhi Jayanti, pre-Christmas. Those are all symbolic. I remember a video I saw online where when this politician was, taking a photo op for that, it becomes a photo opportunity for them. They brought the waste from somewhere so that they just use the broom, just for the sake of photograph. So that actually is the image with regard to all this kind of cleaning drive that we have now. The reason, as you said, is the same people who did the cleaning drive immediately after that, they were the one who first threw the garbage. So my experience with garbage, a problem, like I said in Joy in the last 1 year, is that, like Kong was mentioning, it's behavioral change. You cannot do anything with waste until and unless you change the behavior of the people. You rightly said that almost in all the towns and cities, the government has provided those green and blue buckets. But from what I see in Joy, they become water container. At least people make a good use of it. So I'm glad that people make good use of it. But otherwise, nobody is really doing the segregation of waste. So we have to, and to start changing the behavior of the people. Actually, I already had a project on this, and I have discussed this with the Deputy Commissioner of Jaintia Hills also, West Jaintia Hills. And incidentally, there was an advertisement from the University, NIHU, with regard of a grant of about 20 lakhs. So I immediately sent my proposal. It ends today, actually, the project. And the reply I get from some of the people is that, no, this is segregation of waste, and we are more focused on production from the waste. I said, you cannot do anything with waste until and unless you segregate waste. You can get things to produce from waste only if you segregate waste. So that my project has been, they have rejected my project. So my point is, we have to change the mindset of the people. So we need to, we can start from like what we did now from a small university. So what we plan is that with that project that we thought will be a pilot project, we can replicate it somewhere else. So maybe that is, the Come Green part of it. Thank you, Kom.
You have anything to say as a last word? I'll just come to you.
Actually, because the tree comes up from the roots, so we should train our small children to be a part of cleanliness. And I think going back to Molenong, initially they called a meeting by the one teacher of Molenong. He called all these, even small children and the elders. He told them, let us make our village cleanest village. And it really reached up to the level of cleanest village in Asia. And they told the children or any people in the village, if you see anybody throwing any rubbish, please take with a smiling face and put in the basket. That will be a sweet revenge. I think because, we the elders, we are just like a tree. We cannot bend. But the children, just like small seedlings, we can bend it. So I think that way we can clean our localities or villages in that way. And what Kongpat told that we should have a walk. I think students from the schools, they should be taken to the coal fields, the quarries, they see the damage of the environment, and then take them to the sacred forest and see the beauty of the forest, how they can breathe the fresh airs and see the beauty of the flowers and all this inside the reserve forest. So I used to tell people while I was in service, please grow trees abundantly, especially the banana trees, because banana trees extract the moisture from the air and send down the water to the springs. So, and I found once spring. What call a well, which had a banana trees up just above that. Then I taste the water from the well is so sweet. Then I learned that yes, by planting banana trees near the wells, we'll have a clean water. And one thing more I learned from my experience that we dug a pond in Amokruat PhD complex. We rear the fishes there, and somebody, out of jealousy, they threw the chlorine, and fishes just remain floating on the surface of water. And one fellow, one of my staff, he asked me, "Sir, please give me your vehicle. I'll collect the banana trees. We'll cut to pieces and we'll put under pond." And I saw that the fish. I think that banana tree, it absorbed the poisons, and the fishes, survive. So in that way, I learned the lessons from that. So I think it should be the way. Schools should not go only to the park, not only go to the museum or anything. They should be taken to those areas also. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll have the last word from Ambassador Mukhopadhyay.
Thank you. Thank you, Kong Patricia, and thank you all my fellow panelists and all of you for your participation. I just wanted to end with a couple of points that, of a macro nature, because largely our discussions have been what we can do as individuals. I think there's a lot we can do as individuals, but we should recognize that there are also limits to what individuals can do. And events like this that we have, Winter's Tale, are a big carrier of what individual efforts, individual ideas to the community level. And then from the community level, we need to take it to the government. Because oddly enough, it is the government and big industry and the corporate sector that actually are the biggest violators of all the laws of nature. And there I want to make a second point, which is, since the time of the British, the economy of the Northeast has been founded on what we can call basically extractive industries. You live in Meghalaya, in the lap of nature, with the bounty of nature. But what we are doing every single day, whether it is coal mining or limestone mining or stone crushing and mining, is we are simply plundering the natural God-given bounty of nature, and we are extracting more and more out of the earth. And we are not giving back enough. And whether it was, tea plantations or timber or rice plantations or jute or whatever that, the British did, and after the British, the economy continues to be exactly the same: extractive, coal, oil, gas, and now we've added, dams and big rivers, hydroelectricity. All of them are just taking out from nature and not giving anything. The alternative is to turn course and invest in what we can call the productive economy, the produce of human labor, what the farmer does, which we don't realize every day. Not industrial farming, but actually the small-scale farming that our parents and forefathers and others did. And if we can just make that more productive, add value, find markets, brand them, produce them, help package them, again, sustainably, I think we could make a complete change from the kind of consumerist culture that we've inherited with the Industrial Revolution to a kind of new world which is more climate-friendly and ecologically sensitive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I think we shall say the pledge. Gopal, can you please all stand up and repeat after me? This is the Winter Tales Pledge. Please repeat Winter Tales Pledge. Use your mic. Use your mic. As a responsible human,
As a responsible human
who also realizes
who also realizes
that I am part of the environment,
that I am part of the environment,
I pledge
I pledge
to come clean
to come clean
whenever my actions
whenever my actions
are harmful
are harmful
and damaging to the environment.
and damaging to the environment.
In other words,
In other words,
harm to myself too,
harm to myself too,
and therefore
and therefore
to change my behavior.
to change my behavior.
I also pledge
I also pledge
to go green
to go green
by conserving
by conserving
and striving
and striving
to make sustainable use
to make sustainable use
of all natural resources.
of all natural resources.
I will be conscious
I will be conscious
and encourage my friends,
and encourage my friends,
family,
family,
and neighbors
and neighbors
to avoid using
to avoid using
all that is harmful to the environment.
all that is harmful to the environment.
I pledge to protect
I pledge to protect
and nurture
and nurture
everything in nature
everything in nature
which is life sustaining.
which is life sustaining.
I take this
I take this
as my New Year's resolution
as my New Year's resolution
to ensure
to ensure
that I become a responsible member
that I become a responsible member
of this universe
of this universe
and a vital part
and a vital part
of making our world
of making our world
a cleaner
a cleaner
and greener place
and greener place
to live in
to live in
and coexist.
and coexist.
Thank you very much, audience. Thank you for being here this morning and for listening. And we hope that you will be messengers of come clean, go green. Thank you, Dakti and Winter Tales, for this excellent opportunity to be able to share this forum with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also have to thank all the panelists.
Can I request the panelists now to do the honor of signing the pledge? We have two boards out here, and followed by that, I invite the audience also to just pick up a marker and put in a signature, put in a thought, anything that you want. It'll be a good reminder for us to take back and maybe presented in the next edition of Winter Tales. Yeah. Thank you again. Yeah. So before I leave, I just want Rita to give you all a small, token of our appreciation. And maybe a group photograph will be nice.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We go back to our seats.
No, maybe right here. Maybe right here we could. Yeah. Was to all our panelists, and thank you for your participation.